All right, guys, Algebra 1, Chapter 3 review. Question number 1. If we see y equals negative x plus 3, and we have to find the x and y intercepts, which one do we know right away? The y-intercept, okay? What's the y-intercept in this equation? It's 3, okay? So this is the y-intercept. So anything that's in y equals mx plus b form, whatever is in the b position is our y-intercept. And this side is not going to be nice to me. Okay, so the y-intercept automatically is 3. Now, two ways to find the x-intercept. Either I can graph it, or everywhere I see a y, I'm going to replace it with a 0. So I'm going to go with the substitution method, and I'm going to take y equals negative x plus 3, and to find the x-intercept, I'm going to replace y with 0, because everything hits the x-axis with a y value of 0. So now how do I solve this if I want to solve for x? Okay, and that's going to leave me with negative x, right? How can I end up with positive x in one step? Nope. How can I end up with positive x in one step? I can do it right now. Nope. Nope. What if I just added x to both sides? Instead of the 3, what if I took the x to the other side by adding it? And that gives me an answer of x equals 3. Okay, now, for those of you who said, hey, I can multiply through by negative 1, that's not wrong. Okay, I just decided to do that. So had you subtracted 3 to the other side, you would have got negative x equals negative 3, and then multiply everything by 1, or negative 1, and it gives you x equals 3. Same thing. So my x-intercept is also 3. Okay, purely coincidental. Don't look at it and say, well, if the y-intercept is 3, the x-intercept must be 3. That's not how it works. Okay, so make sure you sub it in. Okay, nth term for number 2 and 3. The equation is on there. So to find the nth term, we take the first term plus n minus 1 times the difference. In question number 2, they tell us that our first term is what? Is what? Negative 4. And they tell us that our difference is what? Negative 2. So what do I do with that negative 4 and negative 2? Sub them in. Okay? Do I sub anything into the a to the n? I just leave it alone. I don't even need it anymore. So a to the 1 is negative 4 plus, I don't do anything to the n minus 1, and then I sub in my difference of negative 2. Now be careful. A lot of kids want to subtract 2 here, so I would advise you to put that in parentheses as well, so you can see it as multiplication. And then we're going to do distributive property. So we're going to draw our stupid arrows. And now go from left to right. I just bring down that negative 4, not doing anything with it right now. What's negative 2 times n? Negative 2n. And what's negative 2 times negative 1? Positive 2. Make sure you put a sign on it. And now I've got 3 terms. What can I do with them? I can combine like terms. Which ones are like terms? The negative 4 and the positive 2. What's negative 4 plus 2? Negative 2. And then bring down the negative 2n. And that's my answer. Some of you might put that as negative 2n minus 2. Those are both the exact same answer. It doesn't matter. The order doesn't make any difference. Okay. So now we go to the second one. And this time they didn't tell us what the first term is, but we know our first term in the list is what? It's 21. They also didn't tell us what our difference was, so we're actually going to have to do some subtraction. So how do I get from 21 to 15? I subtract 6. So my difference is negative 6. And so now I plug that into the same formula that I did on number 2. So that's going to be 21 plus parentheses n minus 1. Again, I'm going to put the second one in parentheses times negative 6. So that gives me 21. Draw my stupid arrows. What's negative 6 times n? Negative 6n. And negative 6 times negative 1? Positive 6. So that's going to give me 27 minus 6n. Okay, again, or you could have put negative 6n plus 27. It's the exact same thing. Okay, so for 4, 5, and 6, we're going to graph these. What's the easiest form to graph in? Just say it. Y equals mx plus b. So we want to get everything into y equals mx plus b form. I'm not even going to try to write on the other side. So what do I need to do first to this equation? Get the y by itself. So what do I need to move first? Not the y. I need to move the 5x. So I'm going to subtract the 5x from both sides. So that's going to give me 2y. I'm going to put the x first because it's y equals mx plus b. So that's going to be negative 5x plus 10. Okay, now it's y equals mx plus b, not 2y equals mx plus b. So what do I need to do with that 2? Divide everything by 2. So that gives me y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 5. Because I took negative 5 and divided it by 2, just made it a fraction because it doesn't come out evenly. I took 10 and divided it by 2, and it did come out evenly to be 5. So what's my y-intercept of this graph? 5. So I go up 5 spaces, put a point, piece of cake. What's my slope? Negative 5 over 2. Okay, what does that mean? Down 5 and to the right 2. So down 5, right 2. Now, on some of these, there may only be enough room to put 2 points on there. So if you don't have room for another point, don't worry about it. If you do have room, go ahead and put that third point on there. And that looks just like that. Whoa, yikes. Where's my line? Okay. For sake of time, since your work is going to be right there, we won't worry about labeling them tomorrow on the test. Just get your graphs there and keep going. All right, number 5. It's over here. There we go. No, really. Okay. Number 5, 2x minus 3y equals 6. Same thing. I want to get y by itself, so what do I move first? Subtract the 2x. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit, so that's going to give me negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. And the last step, I'm going to do what? Divide by negative 3. Again, I'm going to skip a step and just do that division. What's negative 2 divided by negative 3? Positive 2/3. Negative divided by negative is a positive. And what's positive 6 divided by negative 3? Negative 2. Okay? Y-intercept is negative 2. And slope tells me to do what? Up 2. Oh, up 2 and to the right 3. Rise over run. Up 2 to the right 3. And moving on to number 6. number 6. Y minus 3x equals negative 4. Only one step in this one. What do I have to do in this one? Add 3x to the other side. So I end up with y equals 3x minus 4. Y-intercept of negative 4. And because the slope is positive 3x, what does that mean? Rise 3 and to the right 1. Rise 3 to the right 1. Okay, so standard form, what I would advise you to do tomorrow on the test is when you get to question 7 and 8, right next to the word standard form, write out standard form. AX plus BY equals C. Okay, so number 7 gets me at Y plus 6 equals negative 3 times X minus 2. The goal of standard form is to get the x and y on the same side. So to do that, what do I have to do first? Anybody? Distribute. Okay, so I'm going to distribute that negative 3. That gives me y plus 6 equals negative 3x plus 6. Negative 3 times negative 2 gives me plus 6. Now if I want to get the x and y's on the same side, now I just need to decide which one I want to move. It makes no difference. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 3x to both sides. That gives me 3x plus y plus 6 equals 6. Now there's something on the left side that doesn't need to be there. What is it? It's the positive 6. How do I get it to the other side? I subtract it. So I end up with 3x plus y equals 0. Standard form, completely correct. For those of you who would have subtracted the y to the other side, you would have got negative 3x minus y equals 0. It's the exact same answer. I will take both of them. Okay? Yes, sir? What else would you put? You would just leave it blank? Put the 0. Yeah. Yeah, I'd put the 0. Because 6 minus 6 is 0. Okay, again, number 8 is standard form. So we have y minus 5 equals 1/2 x plus 4. What do you see that you cannot have in standard form? Fractions. So we're going to get rid of it right away. Okay? What can I multiply through by to get rid of this fraction? The reciprocal, which is 2. Okay, I'm just going to call it 2. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times negative 5 is, these are not trick questions, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, okay? Again, I have to multiply everything by 2, not just that side, okay? What's 2 times 1/2? It's 1, so that's gone. That's what we wanted it to do. So that just leaves us with x plus 4. Now, some of you might ask, well, why didn't I multiply the x plus 4 times 2? We did, because that was connected to the x plus 4. So that's only one term, because it's squeezed together, okay? So now, no more fractions. Now I need to combine my x's and y's. So again, I'm going to bring the x over. So that gives me negative x plus 2y minus 10 equals 4. And obviously the negative 10 is the third wheel. It's like the little brother or sister when you're out on a date. Okay, how do I get rid of that negative 10? Add 10 to both sides. So we end up with negative x plus 2y equals 14. Now, for those of you who took the y to the other side, you would have got positive x minus 2y equals negative 14, and it's the exact same answer. Number 9. For 9 through 13, these are slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. In number 9, it goes through the points 1, 4, and it goes through the points 3, 10. Okay? I'm going to show how to do numbers 9 through 16 without graphing. Okay, so those of you who graph and want to put it on a graph and get a visual of it, that's fine. I'm just going to show the other method. All right, so if I need to put it in y equals mx plus b form, I need to find a slope first. How do I find a slope if I've been given 2 points? Without graphing. Without graphing. Okay, the slope formula. Okay, remember way back when the slope formula was y2 minus y1. It's not going to write. Well, let's try it over here. Okay. So what's the y value of my second point? 10. What's the y value of my first point? 4. So I've got 10 minus 4. What's the x value of my second point? 3. X value of my first point? 1. What's 10 minus 4? 6. 3 minus 1? 2. What's 6 divided by 2? 3. So my slope is 3. So I know my equation is going to be y equals 3x, because that's where my slope goes, but I don't know my y-intercept yet. So I'm just going to put plus b. Now, that's not the answer. Obviously, we have to find the y-intercept. To do that, we're going to take one of these points and plug it in for x and y. Doesn't matter which one. So I'm just going to take the first one. Everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with 1. Everywhere I see a y, I'm going to replace it with 4. So that gives me 4 equals 3 times 1 plus b. Now, how am I going to solve that? Okay, so I get 4 equals 3 plus b. If I want to get b by itself, what do I do with that 3? Subtract it from both sides. And so b equals 1. My slope is 3. My y-intercept is 1. What's my equation? Y equals 3x plus 1. Lots of those to go. Number 10. Through point negative 3, excuse me, and parallel to 4x minus y equals 9. If it's parallel to that one, what does that tell you? It has the same slope as that one does. So I need to find the slope of that one. So I need to put that one in y equals mx plus b form. It's pretty close. I just need to change a couple of things. What do I need to do? Get the y by itself. So what do I need to move? Move the 4x. So that's going to give me negative y equals negative 4x plus 9. Now, again, we don't want negative y. We want y. So what do we have to multiply everything by? Negative 1. So that gives us y equals 4x minus 9. So what's the slope of the line that I'm looking for? 4. So it's going to look something like this. This might look familiar because we did this in the last one. How will I find b if I know all that information? Plug it in. What's y equal? What's my y coordinate? Negative 3. What's my x coordinate? 2. So I get negative 3 equals 8 plus b. And what do I do with that 8? Subtract it. So I end up with b equals negative 11. So my slope is 4. My y-intercept is negative 11. What's my equation? Y equals 4x minus 11. It is a lot of work. You're right. Okay, 11 is actually shorter because they give us the slope. We don't even have to move it around. What's the slope of number 11? It's negative 3. So it needs to go through this point, and it has a slope of negative 3. They've already manipulated the equation for you. Perfect. So what's my equation going to start off looking like? Y equals negative 3x. I'm going to put the plus b, and I'm going to sub the point in. What's the y value of my point? 1. What's the x value of my point? Negative 5. So that gives us 1 equals 15 plus b. So what do I do with that 15? Subtract it. What's 1 minus 15? Negative 14. So b equals negative 14. So what's my equation? Y equals negative 3x minus 14. Okay. Number 12. Number 12. Now we're looking at perpendiculars. Okay? Two lines are perpendicular. What's true about their slopes? They are negative reciprocals. Okay. So I have negative 3, 6. And I have a line of x minus 4y equals negative 8. I got to find out the slope. How do I do it? Got to get y by itself. How do I do it? Minus the x. And then last step is going to be to what? Divide by negative 4. Now be careful here. Okay. Sometimes we get a little bit confused because we want to change everything into a decimal. Okay, what's the imaginary number out in front of the x even though it's not there? Okay, in this case it's got a negative on it, so it's a negative 1. What's negative 1 divided by negative 4? Positive 1/4. What's negative 8 divided by negative 4? Positive 2. Remember, if you have smaller number in the numerator, it's going to be a fraction. You'll only get a whole number if you have the larger number in the numerator. Okay, so my slope is 1/4. What's the negative reciprocal of 1/4? Negative 4. So the one I'm looking for is y equals negative 4x plus b, and my point was negative 3, 6. Guess what we're going to do? Sub them in. 6 equals negative 4 times negative 3 plus b. That gives me 6 equals 12 plus b. Then I'm going to subtract 12. And what does my b equal? Negative 6. So what's my equation? Perfect. It's not like a bunch of machines. Y equals negative 4x minus 6. Give me a 6. Good enough. Y equals negative 4x minus 6. Okay, 13. Lucky number 13. Lucky number 13, they gave us our slope. What's our slope? 1/3. What's the negative reciprocal of 1/3? Negative 3. So my equation is going to start off as y equals negative 3x plus b. What do I substitute in for the y coordinate? 2. What do I substitute in for the x coordinate? -4. So that gives me 2 equals 12 plus b. Subtract 12 from both sides, and b equals -10. So that's going to be y equals -3x, good, minus 10. And that was the most horrible circle I've ever drawn in my life. Let's go with that one to circle the whole thing. Okay? Okay, so point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So now we're just going to substitute things in. The y never changes. We're going to subtract our y1. So what's the y value of our point? It's 5, so it's just y minus 5. And what's the slope? -3/2. The x never changes. And then what's the value of our x coordinate? -2. So when I subtract a -2, what does that mean? +2. Just +2, not plus a positive. Okay? That is point slope form. That's it. Okay? Okay, no stupid arrows, nothing else. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do these on the same ones, or on the same page. The only difference in number 15 is they didn't give us a slope. There's 2 ways to do it. You could put those 2 points on a graph and find the rise over run, or we can just use our slope formula that we used before, which was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this case, what's the y value of our second point? 11. What's the y value of our first point? 5. X value of our second point? -4. And x value of our first point? 2. What's 11 minus 5? And what's -4 minus 2? Okay, so if my slope is 6 over -6, what does that simplify to? -1. Now, here's the question you might ask. Well, Mr. No, there's 2 points. Which one do I pick? Do I pick the 2, 5? Do I pick the -4, 11? Doesn't matter. They're both right. They're both on the same line. Okay, so I'm going to go with the first one just because they're both positive and I like the way that looks. So what's the y value of the first point? 5, so it's y minus 5. What's the slope we just found? Oh, -1. I put it +1 there. That's -1. X stays the same. What's the x value of our point? What's the x value of our point on there? It's 2, so it's -2. Again, that's point slope form. You're done. Doesn't matter. Nope. It's the exact same thing. So let's go to 16. 16, they gave us a little break. Okay, they gave us the slope on number 16. It's got a slope of -2. So I'm just going to kind of speed this up since we've done a couple already. We're going to do y. We're going to subtract a -3. So what does that mean? +3. We're going to take our slope of -2. And then we're going to subtract our x value. The biggest problems I have or have had on this test over the years is just not putting it in the right form. You've got all 3 of the forms: standard form, slope-intercept form, point slope form. Make sure you're answering them correctly. Typically, 14, 15, and 16, those are the easiest because all you got to do is sub it in and leave it. You don't have to do any figuring, all right? Okay, number 17. It's hard to read. I'll have it better on the test tomorrow, obviously. But the word there is correlation, which means what's the relationship? Is it positive? Is it negative? When we graph a line, does it have a positive correlation if it rises from left to right? Or does it have a negative correlation if it falls from left to right? You don't have to graph this. There's no reason to. We go from 97 to 162. We kind of have a little brain freeze and we go down to 104, but then we keep going back up. 180, 213, okay, back down to 129, and back down to 84. Do you think on average, okay, that this thing is going up? Is it going down? Or is it just like popcorn going everywhere? for the most part, it's going up. Okay, so number 17 is going to be a positive correlation. Now, some of you might say, well, Mr. Renault, that's not entirely true. It did go down sometimes. Yeah, you're right. Imagine if you had a group of 7 friends and 2 of them were negative, but 5 of you were having a good time. Would you even care about the other 2? Of course not. Okay, they can do their own thing. They can be negative Nancy over there. We're going to have a positive time. So that's the correlation. Okay, the next ones are going to go pretty quick. Okay, these are multiple choice. Number 18, they give you the slope. They give you the y-intercept. Put it in y equals mx plus b form. So slope of 7/2 needs to be in front of the x. So that eliminates everything except what choice? There's only one there that has a slope of 7/2. Which one is it? It's b. Okay? So for those of you who are watching the screencast tonight, I'm going to make sure that's really big so you can see it. It's b. All right. Number 19. Number 19, which equation matches the slope of negative 0.8 and a y-intercept of 10? Okay, so we have negative 0.8. There's only one question that has it. Which one is it? It's letter A. Okay, you guys are doing great. Choice A. Hey. Number 20. A is what you're going to get on the test tomorrow, right? Okay. Number 20. Slope of negative 1.5. Y-intercept of negative 6.8. Man, they didn't even get... You don't even have 2 choices here. There's only one that has a slope of negative 1.5. What is it? Choice A. Again, I'm trying to foreshadow on what kind of grade you're going to get, so it's going to be an A. Okay. All right, number 21. 21. Icicle is 12 inches long, and it melts at a rate of 4 inches per hour. Do we know how many hours that it's melting? No, so 4 is going to be connected to a variable. So we need to find something that's connected to a variable where 4 is connected to a variable. Letter C, that's it. Okay, it starts at 12 inches, and we subtract 4 inches per hour, T being the hour. So that's going to be letter C. Man, we are cruising. Number 22. A taxi driver charges $2 plus 15 cents per mile. Do we know how many miles we're going? No, so 15 should be attached to a variable. Okay, which one has 15 attached to a variable? B and C. Uh-oh, they're going to make us choose between 2 now. Okay, so if you're in a cab, are they subtracting the amount you pay for mile, or are they adding the amount? They are adding it, so that's going to be choice B, which is a good grade. Some of you will get B's, and that's all right. Okay, number 23. Take the equation. What form does it want it in? Standard form. So I would flip back to my front page. I would remind myself what standard form looks like. Don't just go, oh, I got this. Okay, go back. Remind yourself what it is. It needs to be an AX plus BY equals C form. So what am I going to have to do first? I got to do the distributive property. Hey, there's nothing out there to distribute. It's just a negative. Okay, cool. Put a 1 there. Same thing. So now I draw my stupid arrows. And I get y plus 3 equals negative 1x. I'm just going to put negative x because it looks smarter. Okay? Minus 1. If I want to get the x to the other side, I'm going to add it. And now I've got x plus y plus 3 equals negative 1. And what do I do with the positive 3? Subtract it. Now, remember, they may have done it a different way. So I'm either looking for x plus y equals negative 2, or I'm looking for negative x minus y equals positive 2. Which one is there? X minus y, let's see, x plus y, where are we at? X plus y equals... Oh, this is negative 1. Yep, you're right. So this should be negative 4. So x plus y equals negative 4. Thank you. Choice A. Those of you who caught my mistake, you'll make A's. Okay, almost there, guys. Number 24. What form do they want it in? Slope-intercept form. What does that look like? Y equals mx plus b. Stupid arrows. So I get y plus 1 equals 2x minus 8. Got to move one more thing. What is it? Got to move the plus 1. How do I do it? Subtract it. So I end up with y equals 2x minus 9. Y equals 2x minus 9. That is choice D. That's the grades we're going to stay away from. See, my board didn't even want me to write it, so. Okay, so 25. Okay, we're just going to discuss. We talked about correlation a little bit ago. Okay, so looking at this graph, they're not all the same. Okay, is this a negative correlation? Is it a positive correlation? Or does it look like fireworks in the sky and it's no correlation? It's negative, so we can cross off choice D. We can cross off choice C. Now it's all about the wording. Is the price decreasing as the quantity sold decreases? Or is the price increasing as the quantity sold decreases? It is, the price is increasing as the quantity sold decreases. So that is choice B.